that on? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Senator Reed as well. Just echo everyone's sentiment about what a great job you've done keeping us engaged and involved and communicating so thoroughly. And thanks to each of you. I'm sitting here a little bit, well, I'm curious. It's a good place to sit when you're curious, when you have four really smart people to ask questions of. But some of the questions I have, you're gonna have to speculate about, because I want to ask you about what people that won't support this, why they would have supported it, and that may seem a little bit unfair, but you're all I have. One thing I want to get straightened out, because I've heard it said that the NTIA objected, but I've also read that the NTIA did not recommend or could not recommend. Is there a distinction there between not recommending and objecting, given the NTIA's authorities? And I don't know which one of you, maybe Mr. Deasy, you'd know the answer to that. I mean, I used to be on the Energy and Commerce Committee in the House. I was a communications telecoms regulator for 10 years. So I think there's a distinction there. I just want to be sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could legally tell you what those distinctions are, but I will say that clearly what NTIA's role is to represent back the agency's view on this. So in this case, you have a position, navigation, timing, XCOM, which is made up of 9 federal agencies. Their job was to take our view, put that in a formal letter, and then submit that view back to the FCC. So I can tell you that their job in that case was to submit the view of the PNT.
Does the NTIA ever recommend a yay or a nay to the FCC?
I'll have to ask other colleagues
Anybody
if
know?
they know.
All right. We'll find that out. I'm curious about, because it does seem to me here that process matters. You're all too smart for me to ask technical questions of, so I'm going to focus on process a little bit. Because the other thing that sort of perplexes me a little bit is that, first of all, somehow 5 commissioners came to some version of the same conclusion. That's another thing, that just because they either voted yes or didn't object doesn't necessarily mean they have the same degree of enthusiasm for a decision. But nonetheless, it was 5-0. And my reading tells me NTIA did not object, nor did they recommend. I think they can recommend. But there are some other fairly important administration folks that are concerned about national security that seem to have supported the decision unless they've changed their minds. And that would be, of course, Secretary of State Pompeo and Attorney General Barr. Does anybody know if they've changed their minds or why they feel differently? Yeah. Okay, I'll ask them, I guess. That'd be the best thing to do. The one other process question I have is, how long was this application in? Does anybody know when the application was made?
Know the date, Mike?
Because my sense is that there's volumes and volumes and volumes and hours and hours and hours dedicated to this, and we know about yours, obviously, and I would just be interested kind of in some more of the story. It just helps me to satisfy my curiosity. I have no doubt that everything you've said is absolutely 100% accurate and true. Don't get me wrong. But it does help me balance my thinking when I hear a little more from someone else. But I know that's not your objective, but it's just kind of mine. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll ask some questions other places. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
It's really important information. And
Yeah,
what's
if
really
you-
important is other people hear it.